Welcome to Making Moves with Mikki J, the space where bold moves, big dreams, and real results collide. I'm Mikki J, your coach, agent, and clarity partner, here to help you live the life you deserve. So, if you're ready to move like you're somebody, let's get going. So, today we're going to be talking about when to know when to pivot. In life, there are times where you really need to know when it's time to not give up on life, not give up on your dreams, but pivot. A pivot is just a alternate path, if you will. The way you were going is the way you thought you were going to get where you're going. But know that there's an overarching plan that's bigger than your thought process that you have to bow down to. So in life, we'll get nudges. We'll get little inclinations that tell us it's time to move. So we're going to talk about 5 ways to know it's time to move. You know it before you admit it. There's a shift that's happening within you, right? But the fear of the unknown is holding you back from making that change. Today, we're going to talk about those 5 signs to know when it's time to move. Within those, we're going to cover some topics that will help you to see these 5 times, that 5 signs when to let you know it's time to make a change. So, sign number 1 is you get a feeling deep inside you of uncomfortableness. You're just uncomfortable staying the same. You're uncomfortable. You just feel agitated, irritated. Everything get on your last nerve. What somebody told me, my last nerve is on suicide watch, right? That right there, being in that space, that lets you know something needs to change. It's about time to pivot. Pivot in some way, shape, or form. So that can be in your career, that could be in your home life, and that could be in your mindset. Just deep down, you get on your own nerves. You hear yourself complaining and get sick of you. These are the times when you know within yourself it's time for a change. There's something's got to give. You find yourself just saying, I don't know, to stuff, and just out of the blue, I don't know. What don't you know? I don't know what I don't know, because you just have a yearning for something different, something more, something better than where you are right now. To you, not to anybody else, but this is a completely internal process. And that's the first sign that it's time to pivot. It's time to make a move. It's time to do something different, right? Is you have you're just uncomfortable. You're agitated. You're irritated. You don't feel good in your skin. That's sign number 1. Sign number 2, you crave something bigger than what you currently have, your current reality, something bigger than your current reality. You just crave it. You find yourself every time that type of car pass you on the street, you see every last one of them, because you just yearn to have a new ride, and that's the ride of your choice. You ride by, you keep seeing for sale signs on houses. There's just this feeling within you that you need to do something different. You really crave something bigger. And one of the telltale signs is you may say things to other people about your desires, and while you're talking about what you desire, you're almost condescending toward anything else by mistake, not on purpose. Because your mind is so one tracked in that direction of where you seek to be that you can't seem to backpedal yourself back to the reality you stand in. Like, you drive a Pinto, so that's where you are. Now, you gotta stay in reality, but at the same time, in your mind, it is completely the best thing, actually, is to live in a space where you have what you want, or you're almost to there. You're almost there. I've got it. I'm just waiting on it to get here. I'm waiting on the car to get delivered. It's in transit. Walk around like that, right? Not telling people that, but just in your spirit, just feeling like it's on the way. And when you have that feeling that it's on the way, then you can forget about it, which is really what needs to happen. You just kind of need to, that's what I want. It's on the way. It's about to be delivered. But let me roll in my Pinto and clean it out and keep it fresh and all the things that you need to do for you in that moment, and love and appreciate what you have. Have that gratitude. That's a big thing. And we'll put a pin in that because we'll have a whole series on gratitude. But literally, that's time number 2, is that you crave something bigger than where you are. You tend to almost have a head in the clouds type of experience at that point in time. The third one is seeing a vision for yourself that doesn't match your current reality. How you view yourself is not your current state. And when that's happening and you are in a state that is different than the one that's in your mind, I am $1 million person, but you've got $5 in the bank, but you have $1 million mentality. You really, your taste is expensive. You walk in the store and the first thing that you pick out is the most expensive thing. Sometimes that's how you may be as an individual, but some people have moments of that where that's a telltale sign that it's time to pivot. It's time to do something different so that you can bring your state in alignment with the state that you want to be in, the state you see yourself. That's number 3. Number 4 is feeling a constant nudge for more. It's a really deep feeling, right? That makes you feel like you need to, maybe you'll pop up early in the morning and not know why. You've been getting up earlier and you've been being more productive and you're doing more with your day and you've just got extra energy. That energy is given to you to execute something. It's time to pivot. It's time to move. It's time to move like you somebody, because you've got the energy, you've got the know-how, you have what it takes within you to do what you need to do. You just need to do it. You need to move like you're somebody, period. And then the 5th sign that it's time to move and it's time to pivot is that unexpected opportunities start to pop up. They start popping up from out of everywhere. You happen to be on the phone with a cousin and all of a sudden somebody walks into their house and an opportunity for you is presented through that. Things can be weird. You wouldn't even know. You couldn't predict it. You couldn't make it up. It just happens that way. Opportunities coming from out of left field. That's when it's time to pivot. That's when it's time to move your body, move your mind, move your soul, so that you can literally capitalize on those opportunities. But usually those nudgings and that feeling that you want to have more and that there's more for you, that's preparation. And you should be retooling, learning something new, refining what you do know. Somehow, some way, gathering yourself and putting yourself in a position where you're able to capitalize on those opportunities that start presenting themselves, period. Because if you don't retool, if you don't pull yourself together and read some books, listen to some podcasts, get into a course, finish that degree, something. There's a long list of things that we all need to actually complete and further ourselves in those areas. And in those areas, when you get that nudging, when you get that feeling that something needs to happen, something needs to be different, you feel like you're in the wrong skin, somehow I need to break free, somehow I need to become what I'm meant to become, that's when you need to get into some books, get into some podcasts, journal, get your thoughts out, because you might have a book in you that you need to write. That might be your bold move. That might be the pivot. So when that opportunity comes up to pivot and to write that book or get on that stage and deliver that speech or get that promotion that you've been wanting, all those things, all those opportunities are there for you and they'll start to open up for you, but you need to be prepared. And those nudgings and that feeling that there's something, it's there for a reason. And you need to use that time, those nudgings. If you're not a religious person, if you're not spiritual, I'm sorry for you. But from my perspective, for I am more of a spiritual person, I do feel like that's your time to meditate. That's your time to sit and listen. Prayer is good, but meditation needs to be hand in hand, because you need to be quiet, close your mouth, and listen. Just listen to what the Spirit is trying to tell you to do with yourself. That nudging is not for nothing. It's telling you to do something. So you need to listen and you need to take heed so that you too can grow and be ready and prepared when those opportunities start to present themselves. In my life, I've been faced with the opportunity to pivot several times. And I've always toot my own horn, or pat myself on the back, or pop my collar, brush my shoulder off, or whatever. Either way, I was able to successfully pivot several times in my life. Whether that was starting out in retail banking and then having to pivot and go into mortgage banking and then pivoting again after being laid off a couple of times out of the mortgage industry, I pivoted straight into IT. I got a whole different degree and went in another direction. And in that, I had to pivot. I had to go from being a contract person to a W-2 person to back to a contract person to coming straight, complete independent consultant. And literally every time that I've had to pivot, I've had that strong feeling, that strong urge, that feeling that there was something else. And I would take that opportunity to journal, and I would pray, and I would meditate, and I would get somebody would come along with an opportunity for me to learn the new technology or learn this new concept, which later then fed into the opportunity for in an interview. I had information, I had more experience, more skills. I was able to take my experience and those times where I was searching. I was actively in what I was in, but I knew that there was more. I was actively kicking behind doing my payroll thing when I did my ADP days, and I was kicking butt, taking names. I had my clients and they were happy with me, and I was doing a great job. I was doing other people's research. It was awesome. But at the same time, I was pursuing my IT degree. And at the same time, I was pursuing other avenues that later led me into coaching and other avenues. And I've had to pivot several times in the sense that I've also built not only a coaching practice, but a coaching community where other coaches are a part of it, called LotusFire Coaching and Training Academy. That was a pivot. And I also have my real estate license. So I have a real estate business. And that was a pivot from IT into real estate. And then also having a coaching practice at the same time. So I've had to pivot. And I've had that experience several times. And I know what that feels like. I remember going out to lunch and not wanting to come back to work because I felt like there was somewhere else I was supposed to be. There was something else that I was supposed to be doing, and I wasn't in my right space. But I take care of my tail right back up in there and get my work done because that was what I had to do. But I knew within my spirit, within myself, within my soul, that there was more for me. There was more for me. There was more I had to contribute. There was more that I had to offer, and I just needed to get it out. But how? How? I got certifications. I got degrees. I got experience. I've worked. I've built businesses. I've helped others. I've done multiple things. And in each and every area of my life, I have had to pivot. I had to pivot when I was married and my marriage was ending and I had to get a divorce. That was a pivot. A pivot from being married to being divorced or single or whatever you want to call it. That was a pivot. And I had to know when to move. I had to know when to let go. I had to know when to fight. But I also had to know when to wave the white flag and concede. Because sometimes in life, you got to take a couple steps back in order to move 10 steps forward. But you got to be willing to take that step back. At least just one step, sometimes 2 steps back. But when you pivot, the trajectory just takes off. This is what I have experienced. This is what I have witnessed others experience. Is when you get that small voice, that nagging, that irritation, everything get on your nerves. Literally, you've got to know everybody goes through it, and it's a purpose for it. And if you don't find anything to do with that and you just keep cutting on Netflix shows instead of journaling or listening to a podcast or listening to a book or reading a book or something that feeds your soul so that you can have an opportunity or feed your mind, feed your soul so that you can grow. And you'll be ready for those opportunities when they come along. Period. Because staying stuck, it costs you way more than trying. And that's the ending thought. Staying stuck costs you way more than trying ever will. Because staying stuck, staying where you are, staying in the same spot over and over year, doing the same thing and never getting a different result is the definition of insanity. And people may call you crazy, but I try to do as the best I can to remove the ambiguity, right? When it comes to my life and what I'm getting ready to do. Decision-making time, when it's decision-making time, Mikki J don't play. Because my life is a culmination of my decisions. And the life that I live is based upon the decisions that I make. So if I'm out here making wacky decisions, I'm going to be living a wacky life. And that's not what I want for myself. And that's not what I want for my people. I want y'all to move. Move like you somebody. Move and shake through this life. That's what I want for my people. All my people. Listening to me, giving me their ear, giving me their time. I want them to grow. I want them to prosper. And I want them to be the best versions of themselves. So when you get that inclination that something is off, dig deeper. Lean into that. Because that's where the magic is. That's where the change is when you lean into that feeling that something just isn't, that something got to be different. Something got to change, right? So this is me. This is all I can offer today on this particular topic. But I really believe that knowing when to move is just as important as moving itself. Because if you move too soon, move before the opportunities open up, right? You move too soon, you fall flat. But if you never move at all, you stay stuck. So move like you somebody. And this is me, Mikki J, signing off. Talk to you next time.